Good evening. Welcome to the Vermillion Local School District Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, October 8th. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Havermill.
Here.
Ms. Innes.
Here.
Ms. Russell.
Here.
Mr. Stark.
Here.
Ms. Stout.
Excused.
4 members present, 1 absent.
Okay, first thing we'd like to do is invite our students of the month up. So if all you kids could come up, let's make like a single file line right here. And all these students are being recognized this month for being students of the month, being great leaders. All right. Come on up. What's your name?
Caitlin,
Caitlin. Who's your teacher?
Mrs. Sprinkle,
And what grade are you in?
first grade,
What do you want to do when you grow up?
a veterinarian.
Awesome. Go to the end of the line. Stay in line, okay? What's your name?
Riley,
Hi, Riley. Scooch around just right here. What grade are you in?
kindergarten,
Who's your teacher?
Mrs. Faulkner,
Mrs. Faulkner. And what do you want to be when you grow up?
artist,
An artist. That's great. Good job. Go to the end of the line. All right, buddy. What's your name?
Ryan,
Hi, Ryan. What grade are you in?
second,
Who's your teacher?
Miss Pitts,
And what would you like to be when you grow up?
a teacher,
Awesome, good job. Next. What's your name?
Alyssa,
Alyssa, what grade are you in?
third,
And who's your teacher?
Miss Margaret,
And what would you like to be when you grow up?
a sheriff,
A sheriff, well, that's a good one. What's your name?
Kia,
Kira? What grade are you in?
second,
Second grade, who's your teacher?
Miss Garcia,
And what would you like to be?
a teacher,
Teacher. Good job. Come on up, buddy. What's your name?
David,
What is it?
David,
And what grade are you in?
George,
Third, and who's your teacher?
Dusty,
And what would you like to be when you grow up?
Anthony,
Awesome, that's great. What's your name, buddy?
Connor,
And what grade are you in?
first,
And who's your teacher?
Miss Amelia,
And what would you like to be when you grow up?
a scientist,
A scientist. That's excellent. Last but not least, what's your name?
Mira,
Mira, what grade are you in?
kindergarten,
Who's your teacher?
Mrs. Bottomley,
And what would you like to be when you grow up?
a veterinarian.
Another veterinarian, awesome. All right. Everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. You guys want to start us off? Ready? Go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Katie.
That was the most fun part of the meeting. Item number 5, our student liaison report.
So we have Kelly Dupeski here, who is going to talk about the Project More project.
Okay, may I have interruption?
It's all right, bring your helper.
Absolutely.
This is Ben, I think he wants to say hello. I'm Kelly Dupaski, I've been at Vermillion for about 17 years now. But this is my first year doing the Project More mentoring program, the coordinator. But it's funny, when I first got hired, I did Ohio Reads, the mentoring program. That's my first year. So that was 17 years ago. So it's really exciting. It's a really good program. We've been doing it for 5 years. Our mentors are amazing because they've gone through different coordinators and they come. It's 3 days a week. It's for 30 minutes. They read with 4th and 5th graders. And Project More is it's an evidence-based research. It's about repeated reading. So they read the same selection, but the mentors read with them. It's not as much a commitment as a lot of people think, because some people say, okay, I can't do 3 days. But we've worked it out where some people come 1 day, some people come 2 days. But it's a really great way to get the community involved. Mr. Bellata and Mrs. Stark we have, also board members, coming. And I just recently kind of started incorporating the high school students again, which I did when I was a coordinator. And I see I have 2 here I just recruited today. And they're gonna stop. But they're really good with the kids. It started today, it was our first day. So they're really patient with me because I feel like I was running around like kind of with my head cut off, kind of like trying to make sure the 4th graders, they're new to the building. I'm like, okay, you guys gotta come down here, I'll get you. But it's really neat to see the kids. It's a program for the kids who, I don't know how to say, a little bit at risk. Like, I know Mrs. Heil did this last year, and all of her children are kind of those kids on the edge that just needed that extra push for reading. And I think, I'm almost positive 100% of her kids passed the AIR test, which is great, but that's not our only. These kids also need that connection with another adult, even a high school student. I had the one little girl, it ended up being, she didn't know, but it was her sister's best friend. So it was really nice seeing them today read. And sorry that he is a monkey. He's been in school all day, so he's kind of like, he ran in the car and said, I'm coming. I'm like, oh, great. But no, it's a great program. I mean, I'm really excited to do it. My mentors, I'm telling you, they're rock stars. I mean, it's a big commitment. I know when you're retired, you have a lot to do. You have actually almost more to do than I have to do. He's a little crazy. He's my second. If that tells you anything. But no, it's really good. The mentors are awesome. Like I said, they're really flexible. This year we kind of do, I believe there's a balance between technology and old school. I kind of like, so we're doing that. We're like reading books online because that's the way of the world. But we're also doing worksheets and games, and it's really good. So if anyone wants to do it, it's Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I will actually, Sarah Kish has sent me, I'm so sorry, I did a flyer, and I will forward it to you guys if you want to give it to, she put it up at the library, and ask anybody, so if anyone's interested, just give me a call or email me at Katie Cosby. Okay, Ben, go ahead and say hi. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, item 6 is our legislative report. Mrs. Stepp isn't here tonight, so we'll move past that. Item 7, the superintendent's report.
Okay, this is not on the agenda, but I have asked Denise Zilski from our food service department to come up, and her son, who's been working in the coffee shop, to help her. I know that he probably gets to do that by default because his mom is instrumental in helping with that task. But we wanted her to come up tonight and tell you what's been happening with the coffee shop, and she's got a presentation, just a quick presentation. So Denise, if you wouldn't mind coming up for a moment. And
well, this is actually kind of exciting because we've been working on this with the coffee shop. The Board of Education gave the Vermillion High School a loan 2.5 years ago of $5,000 to start up a coffee shop with the entrepreneurial program. So it started out, it was a little rocky, but they were doing well. And then last year, the special ed department took it over, and we did almost $7,000 worth of business that year. So that gives us this to present to you, a check where we paid off that $5,000 loan. So that was exciting. The kids that I got to work with last year and Mr. Gentry, it was an awesome year. We tried a lot of exciting new things. Justin, Noah Jameson, Teresa Jameson's son, and we had another, Bear Yost, or 3 students that came in the morning and earned community service hours for their time that they spent in the coffee shop. And then Tim Gentry students worked in there in the morning and then early in the afternoon with Wanda McKenzie. So she was a great help. So it was a good year. And then we're working, hard this year to get it going again. So we just wanted to say we did it. Oh, there you go.
Great job.
we can hang this up from the coffee shop. Thank you, Denise. That was a great accomplishment. And I know when the board first gave that loan, we talked about that quite a bit, and a little bit of anxiety, I guess, when when you give a loan like that out, but we were confident that they would pay it back, and I think that it's grown, as you said, every year. Students look forward to it, the staff looks forward to it, they have coffee and the various drinks that you guys have made up, and so it's a great job. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. Next item on my agenda is school lunch week, and I'll just read you a little bit of a background on what school lunch is. National School Lunch Week is all about. President John F. Kennedy created National School Lunch Week in 1962. During this annual week-long celebration, SNA members and students around the country celebrate in their cafeterias with decorations, special menus, events, and more. During the 2018 National School Lunch Week, the theme is School Lunch, Lots to Love. It's all about showing off the secrets to your school lunch success and your district. So this National School Lunch program serves more than 30 million children every day. Our food service workers and our staff works really hard with our school lunches, and I think we made some big improvements. Denise is in charge of that department as well. And so just a celebration of the week and recognizing the people that come here and work hard every day. So just want to bring that out to the board. Okay, item number 3 is National Bus Safety Week. Pardon me? Oh, yeah, I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to do that first. The next one is National Bus Safety Week. So that's held during the 3rd full week of October each week. National School Bus Safety Week is an active and evolving public education program, and it's an excellent way for parents, students, teachers, motorists, school bus operators, school administrators, and other interested parties to join forces and address the importance of school bus safety. It's designed to promote school bus safety. School districts throughout the country observe this School Bus Safety Week. So just like the Food Service Week, we celebrate the bus drivers as well. Both of these jobs are super important, and a lot of times these workers don't get recognition. And I know that the kids come in every day and they say thanks and things for the meals, but it's a chance for us as adults to thank them as well. So 2 big weeks for both of those things, and just want to bring those up. That happens every school year. So backtracking a little bit, I just wanted to say this one toward the end of the report. We hired Jason Sokol back a couple months ago, and this is a new position, and I think an innovative position for the board. It's a marketing position, and it's a way to brand the district in a communications position as well. And Jason has been brought onto the district with the idea that we're going to tell our story as a district. I think that we've got a lot of innovative things that have went along in the district and went around in the district, and our staff tries to do that work and tries to tell the story as best as we can, but we're not marketing and communications experts. So we brought Jason in, and I think that he's brought a lot of innovative ideas to the table. He's also brought in to help me to look for ways that we can do some possible naming rights and other business ventures with the district that can help us to pay for improvements that we'd like to make to the campus. We've got some ideas about what to do with this campus and how to make it more innovative than it already is. The fact that we're on a single campus is fantastic, but we think that there's a lot more amenities and a lot more improvements that can still be brought in. So Jason and I work together and team up on those things as well. And Jason's going to come on up and tell us a little bit about himself and tell about some of the things that he's working with. Jason.
All right, thanks for having me. I wrote this all down on a piece of paper and realized it's not very innovative to bring up a piece of paper and a pen, so I'm going to read off my phone. My name is Jason Sokol. In my past life, I've been in sales, leadership, and management, and now I'm really excited to get into the education management piece of it. I've actually been on the other side working with K-12 schools, so this is a really different and interesting kind of twist on my career. I'm really excited to be here. One thing that strikes me and has always struck me, this will be my 9th year in the district coaching basketball, is the community rallies around one another so much. So I think you can even tell, especially 3 of you that are sitting up there right now are on the security levy board or committee with me, and I think it speaks to people wanting to be present in the community, even maybe more so than they already are. So some of the things kind of with that in mind that I'm trying to establish or working with Phil to put together are big picture projects and then little picture projects, if you will. So one big picture project that we're just kind of getting rolling on is connecting to alumni in a much more meaningful way. We really don't do much with alumni now other than have a Hall of Fame night. So I really think that's an untapped market for us to really connect and get people to come back here. Ultimately, what we want to do is get more students in the district and more people in our community. I think that's one place that we really need to begin hitting it a little bit harder. So essentially, we came up with 2 roles for this position. The first is pretty obviously to generate revenue for the school through what I think are non-transactional relationships with people in the community, and a value-based proposition that is all based around mutual belief and mutual benefit. So when I go into a business and I say, hey, I'm looking for this with the district, I don't just say, are you willing to donate $1,000 to us this year? And then next year I'm going to go back and say, hey, you donated $1,000 last year, are you willing to donate $1,200 this year? It's more walking in, learning what their business is about, learning how they connect to the school district, and then saying, what is meaningful to you? And through that, we can really, they can stay invested literally in what their money goes towards at the school district. So non-transactional relationships. And then the second thing, in addition to generating revenue, is creating opportunities for the students that maybe didn't exist before. So one example, and I've got 2 of my liaisons here, didn't know that they would be here, but Clara and Gracie are in the first ever VIA social media group, which is, does one of you want to stand up and say? Brave.
I'm Gracie Fry, I'm a junior here. Basically what the group is we're trying to promote being safe on social media to younger students, and we're just trying to make Vermillion look like a positive place, and getting the word out there about student section memes and things like that, with the social media and vlogs and stuff.
Perfect, thank you. So part of that is going to be essentially developing a curriculum to go into 4th, 5th, 6th graders and start them as early as they can on being safe and responsible on social media, but also having a powerful voice. In addition, though, it's marketing, because we want to market our district. To my knowledge, and I've done a little bit of research on this, I can't find any other group that exists like this in any other school district. So the 12 juniors and seniors that are part of this one might very well be the first 12 to be a part of any kind of group like this, at least in the state of Ohio, in any kind of school district. So it's really a neat program. I think that we're going to have some fun with it. Other partnerships that exist, we have Dunkin' with DeLees, where Lisa DeLees is going to pick a student of the month and go to Dunkin' Donuts with them. That will be one of our vlogs. We're going to have a full-on student of the month. And if you guys are familiar, there's a new internet or VR arcade in town called Full On VR. They've agreed to sponsor an hour of free play during the day for 4 students every month in high school. We also have the Powerhouse Athlete of the Month. You guys may have seen that was posted on the athletic website. And the first winners of that will be announced on Friday. They actually were announced, but we have a video vlog again that will be announced Friday. And those are through some partnerships that we have with existing businesses in the community and some alumni. And then we have other partnerships between Powerhouse and Dunkin' Donuts. We also have Starbucks has agreed to be a partner with us and donate some coffee. Smash, which is a food truck, has agreed to give us basically a 50% discount on catering for the Let's Get Ready day. Poppin' Around, the popcorn facility, has agreed to sell popcorn at our football games and then donate 20% of their proceeds. And since that's worked out so well, they're interested in continuing on with basketball and more events throughout the course of the school year. One example of how we're doing non-transactional relationship-based sponsorships is I asked, where do you want your money to go? And the owner of that particular location, her granddaughters had moved to Stand and was really passionate about having that money go there. So it's one example of we can, make partnerships that are really meaningful to each individual business owner. And then also working on a catalog with Brummers, Swan Creek, and also popping around for selling, just doing a fundraiser sale over the course of the holiday season. And then we also have a couple other things going on, like working with a couple banks to try to develop some scholarships for workforce development so they can take their board at the end of the school year. Working with Spitzer Auto World because they were interested in partnering up with us in some ways for Art Club. And Panera is also interested in doing a kind of student of the month thing. So we have a bunch of other stuff going on, but that is the not so brief gist of it. Any questions I can answer?
I think what the great thing about bringing him on is that it opens up some opportunities that you wouldn't expect. For example, he mentioned full-on VR, virtual reality. And so when we start looking at these potential partnerships, other things develop out of it. And one of the things that we discovered, we've been talking about enhancing our science department and what can be done with that. And as it turns out, they have a virtual planetarium. And one of the things that the science department has asked, can we build a planetarium? Well, the technology is such these days that when you're looking to virtual reality, you almost get a better experience than being in a planetarium by just using the technology that they have there. So that opened up a whole nother possibility of how we can partner with a business like that, and he's really excited, and we are too, to work with a business like that. Those are things that I would not have had the time or the opportunity to do because I'm doing some other things obviously in the district besides just trying to market. So I think that a lot of the things that Jason's doing and will continue to do is going to bring a lot of value to the district. And as he said, it's not just all income-based, but it's idea-based as well too. So it's working out real well so far.
It's a great job for such a short time, so.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is state report card review. Jim Malata is here from the district as the assistant superintendent, and I sent an article out in the photojournal that touched a little bit about some of the things that he's going to talk about, but he'll get a little bit more in-depth tonight, not super in-depth, but he'll just give an overview of what the report card's about and talk a little bit more about it. So, Mr. Malata.
It's turning on.
Good evening, board members and community and students. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to do my best to explain the report card in 15 minutes. And it's a hard task, but I'll do my best. So we received our results from the 2018 spring assessments that we gave. That was in April and May of last year. And I wanted to go over the grades. So our overall grade, this was the first year that districts were given an overall grade, and it was a C. And these are the components of how we received the C. So you see 20% based on achievement, 20% progress, 15% gap closing, 15% graduation rate, 15% improving at-risk K-3 readers, and 15% prepared for success. And you'll see each of those grades were for those different areas that I have there. So I'm going to explain each of these briefly. So we had 20% of our grade was for achievement, which we had a C. This represents the number of students who passed the state tests and how well they performed. That's like the performance index, which I'm going to explain later, so you can see how the points correspond to the level of proficiency that the students had. And then now they added another indicator, which is the percentage of students who miss too much school. That's part of our grade now. So our district percentage was 17.7% missed too much school. And there's a formula that I'm not going to go into, but we have a committee now that is working on attendance and trying to improve the attendance and working with kids to get them more motivated to be in school, and also for parents to help them know that the importance of kids being in school. If they're not in school, they're not going to learn anything. You have a question?
How does that compare with other districts around us?
Well, I don't have that information about that specific area. But it's a struggle for most districts to get enough so we don't have that bad showing on our attendance. The next area is progress. We received a C. And this looks closely at the growth of all students in grades 4 through 8. They take a test, the state test in 3rd grade, and then those continue through the years looking at English language arts and math, and then science in grades 5 and 8. Looks at the growth of students, or the progress that they're making. Then we have gap closing, which we received a B, which is really a great improvement than what we've had in the past. And that's looking at subgroups and comparing how they did to the other subgroups. So we have a white subgroup, Hispanic, economically disadvantaged, and students with disabilities subgroups. All the subgroups reached the goal that the state set for us. So that's really an accomplishment. But the students with disabilities didn't improve enough in order to say they were proficient or accelerated in their in the test results. So they're improving, but they're just not improving enough to get to that higher level. I forgot to say, if you have any questions as we go along, please don't be afraid to ask them. Then our graduation rate, which is one of our shining stars. What we do is look at the 4-year time when they graduate. So if they started as 9th graders, 4 years from that date, they're to graduate from high school. Most students do graduate in 4 years, but some it's a 5-year process. So you can see our 4-year percentage is 96.8, almost 97%, and our 5-year was 93.5%. And average that together, we have 95.15%, which is a, yes?
The 5-year of 93%, what is that measuring?
It's
Is
measuring.
it measuring the 3.2% that didn't graduate?
Yes.
So of that last 3%, 93% of that graduates?
Right.
Okay.
Very smart. So we have also improving at-risk K-3 readers. This is more complicated, and I will do my best to explain it so it's understandable. All of these students in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd take a diagnostic test. You can see in the kindergarten from in 2016 to 2017, 15 students were not on track to be proficient or to read. And out of those 15 students, interventions were provided at the elementary school, and you can see that 12 ended up on track the following year. So only 3 students were not on track from a year of instruction. Okay? And then also you could look at the 1st grade for that same year, 9 students were not on track, and then at the end of the year, all of the students were on track. 2nd grade, 10 students were not on track, and 7 were on track. And so you can see each year how it's improving, how our kids are growing, how the teachers and the principal are doing an excellent job getting the kids ready for their assessments. And the totals were 44 students were not on track, and at the end of the year, 31 were on track. But then the state also added another piece to it where there's a deduction for 3rd graders that did not pass the test but didn't have a reading plan. So there were 15 of those students, so they subtracted the 15 from the 31, which gives you 16, and then the 16 out of 44 is a C for that growth. Even though our kids did grow, we were dinged for another piece of it that happens. Any questions on that? All right, now this really is the title, I don't really like it. It's called Prepare for Success. And really what it is prepared for college. not really, and I think success is more than being prepared for college. So the name is kind of, to me, confusing. But what it does is measures the number of students that had a remediation-free score on the ACT and SAT, those that earned an honors diploma, and or an industry-recognized credential, which is really those students at EHOE. We don't have an industry-recognized credential at the high school here. So, and the grade was, they looked at the 2016-2017 graduating class. So it's not really last year's class, everything's a year behind in this area. And one of our clerks made an error and did not enter the ACT data from a few years ago in 2016. She no longer works here, but that's not why she just we didn't fire her or anything, but anyway, it's a fact that it wasn't entered, so our grade was lower than it could have been. So you see, we're almost at 40% of D, which is not, anything we're proud of by any means, and we're taking steps to increase that grade. I think next year we'll be at least at a C, if not better, in this area. So we've increased AP courses, honors courses, and college credit plus courses, and we're making sure everything's entered into the EMIS, which is the state system that looks at all this. So overall grades for districts across the state, only 4% received an A, 31% a B, 45% C, and 18%, 2% F. So we're right in the middle there. We had a C. Not many districts receive an A. To me, that's kind of not fair. I think more districts should have an A, really. I mean, that's a tough, so as you can see, it's really difficult to get an A. But we're working at it. One article I found that I thought was really interesting was looking at the median, that's the average amount of income that families earn and the letter grades. So you'll see a clear indication that there's a correlation between higher income levels and the letter grade that schools received on their report card.
Where does Vermillion fall? Do you know that median income?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to tell you about that.
All right.
So we are right there at a C. We are 38. I'll give you the other figure. So what I did is I looked up several of our districts around here so you can see and compare. So here we're at $38,062 is the median income in our community. And we received a C, but our performance index was 89.665, almost 90, which is really pretty good when you compare it to the other districts. You see our income level is lower than Wellington, but we outperformed Wellington. Perkins, we outperformed Perkins. Oberlin, we outperformed Oberlin. So I think we're doing a great job with the median income level that our community is at. I think we do a good job of meeting the needs of our students and really working with them, getting them to do the most that we can. So there's one, let's see, any questions about this? Okay. So the performance index, the way this works, all the students take the tests and then they are graded advanced down to limited by their scores. In each level, there's a different point value for those scores. So the advanced gets the most points, 1.2 tenths of a point, which is greater than the proficient is just like where most kids would lie in proficient. So if it's above proficient, you're going to get more points for each student. So you can see almost 18% of our students were in advanced area, then accelerated to 22%, proficient, 28% basic, and then limited. And we get points for all of those areas. And if you add up all of the points, we had an 89.7, almost 90%. And out of 120 possible, that's 74.7%, almost 75% was our performance index percentage. So the grading, here's the grading key. It's pretty basic. So you can see where we're at 70, almost 75. So 5 more percentage points and we'll be at 80, B average. So that's what we're working each year to get better. And we are getting better. So I have here on this chart, you can see the 3-year comparison data. So in 2016, we were 85.5, 76, and then each year we're improving. So that's, to me, a good sign. It's hard to improve in those areas. So we're doing, I think, a great job with our students. We provide support for them. And we're not happy with the report card, but we're working at it to get better. Any questions?
Do we see any, so the structure of the report card and the standards, do we see any changes coming down the road, or do we expect it to stay as is?
Well, there's always changes. Every year, they throw something else at us.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, is it a moving target, or is it?
Yeah, it's moving. Like the attendance was added, which wasn't really graded before as part of the report card. And they're talking about changing the standards again, but that nothing's been approved yet. I think in a couple of years they will be changed. But to me, the standard is just, it's okay. It's good teaching, and we really emphasize working on those standards. And you have flexibility as a teacher to teach differently, but you're teaching to the standards and making sure you're covering what you need to cover.
So that was kind of my next question is, you know, it's good that we're improving every year, and I think everybody has a fairly good feeling about where the district is and where we're going. Are there things we can do to still improve on our scores, but still maintain like the vision for education in the district, right? Without just blatantly teaching to the test.
So we used to have a district-led team, and it was part of the Ohio Department of Education. It's a process basically that every school district could go to, and it depends on your test scores too. Some districts were forced to do that. We weren't forced to do it, but we partook in that exercise. And we've kept with it now, but we've changed the name of it to a district advisory committee. And we had that very discussion that you're asking. So what can we do to make sure that we're just not teaching to the test, keep the creativity, and make sure the teachers are coming to school to teach for the real reason that they got here for in the first place. And they didn't come here just to want to teach to a test. They wanted to be sure that they're being as creative as they possibly can. But at the same time, they realize how important these tests are too, because the fact of the matter is the community looks at it, and they're going to either move in or move out of a community sometimes based on these report cards, unfortunately. It's the only game in town that we play. And so we have to be recognizing it, but not hopefully putting so much pressure on ourselves. And I think that for the most part, most of the teachers are finding that balance because they're getting used to what's required. Going back to your question, how much of it changes? Some of it changes, but the base of it is still the same now, so we're getting used to the process. And I think because of that, we've got an upward trend. We're figuring it out, but without staying out of balance either. I think that that's the key for us, is to know that it's there, know that it exists. The standards are important, as Mr. Bellata said, but don't overemphasize the fact that we're testing either. The kids are getting used to it. Accountability has to be here in some way, shape, or form. We all want to know how we're doing. And I think, interestingly enough, one of the conversations that we had is the kids themselves. If you ask the kids, what would we do if we took that pressure away of not worrying about this test? The kids themselves would want to know how they're doing. How do they stack up when it comes to other kids? So there's got to be some way to measure it. You just don't want to get too out there in measuring these things that we put so much anxiety and stress on people. And I think overall we're doing a good job of it. We have an upward trend, we're improving. No, we're not happy with the C overall. That grade should be better than what it is. And so we know that we've got to look at these areas, get better at them, and we're finding ways to do it because we're having that upward trend. We're not where we need to be yet, but we need to do it within balance too. And in the end, what we're telling the community and everyone is, we're more than just this report card. Come on in and see what we do. We've got a lot of innovative programs and a lot of things that we think that kids like to come to school to do. And it's not just before, it's not just school activities too, it's before school, it's after school, it's everything that's here. So when it all comes down to the end of the day, that's the overall 10,000-foot view of this, and I think that that's the view that we should be taking as a district. If you get too caught up in, why didn't we get the A? Well, you can get it, and we're working towards it, but it has to be patience, and it's a process.
Do we share any of this data, even high level like this, with students?
They are aware. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of how you did on your assessments. Parents receive a report in the mail about how everyone's doing. We have goal-setting conferences with kids, and that's not more than just once a year. We do that periodically, where we're setting goals in reading, math, especially in K through 8. Even at the high school, their teachers are required to set goals with kids so they know this is where I'm at, this is where I need to be, and this is what I need to do to get there. So that those conversations are had.
I just think like some comparison data, for students just to know, and I don't know what drives kids specifically now. I know when I was a kid, if we were worse than Amherst or Firelands in anything, it would drive me crazy. And I don't know, your neighboring schools, why aren't we as good as Amherst, Huron, Firelands, Perkins, or Edison? What are the things that we can do better? What can we work harder on? So maybe the kids have the ideas. Or maybe they know if it's just that little bit more and we do something a little bit differently, we'll be better than those schools, then maybe that's a motivator, I don't know.
I think that competitiveness is always something that is there with a lot of students, and not to make an excuse, but if you look at the schools that you're comparing us to, and we're not using that to bring us down, but the poverty level index makes a difference, unfortunately. So when you look across the board of how things stack up, we're at one of the highest poverty level indexes, and it affects performance in the end. Whether you want to, it's just a fact. That's just
we just need to understand how to overcome that, and make a
keep
difference.
working at it, exactly. And I think that we understand that, and that's why we brought this social and emotional learning piece into it. I think by understanding that aspect of it, that's going to help.
And that's what I was going to just mention, that we did add social emotional learning. If you'd like, I can share some of the things that we're actually doing at the next board meeting, so you know that we are implementing social emotional learning, and that does help building those relationships, which I think is a huge piece to getting better in grades and helping teachers know the kids knowing the teachers, and really working together to make us better.
Testing, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but testing, like standardized testing, is that all the way up? How, like,
It goes
all the way to 12th grade?
Yeah, there's certain tests at different levels, like biology and history, and there's other subjects that are tested at the end of course exams, so yes, through high school. Not so much seniors, but at the other levels. Depends who's taking those classes, whether they're measured or not.
So then another potential hot button, and I don't really expect an answer right now on it, but we talk about attendance, right? Is there any feeling regarding, either with the administration or the staff, regarding the amount of time we let students spend outside of here via sign-out? Something to think about.
Yeah, we don't allow them as much of
It's just
a
seniors,
freedom.
isn't it?
Pardon me?
Is it just seniors now?
Yeah, we've limited it.
Oh, it's
down.
not juniors anymore?
No.
Yeah, we
That's
cut
good.
that back.
That's good, I think they
Yeah,
belong
it's
in
not
schools.
as- what it used to be.
Yeah, we understood that that might have been a factor in some of this as well. I think it probably has helped.
Right.
Under the prepared for success part,
Yes.
the ACT and SAT, is that, we don't have a lot of kids going and taking those tests, or the kids that are taking them aren't getting the scores that we would like them to get?
Yeah, it's not enough, we're taking it now, we've remedied that.
Okay, they're all going and
juniors are-
taking it
Yeah, they're all
now.
taking it,
And we're just gonna get
but
those
then
scores.
they have to have a score, a high enough score in order to be considered successful. They can't be.
Do we
just
offer
Yeah.
prep course, I feel, I've been in high school, so I don't remember now, but like prep courses
Yes.
for that sort of stuff, preparing those
Mhm.
kids to go take those tests?
Yes.
Okay. In the school,
Yeah.
we have that for them, they don't have to go to
Right.
school.
Backing up a couple of slides, what was the one that we got dinged for at the end?
The third grade, it's up here. Yeah, the third grade, maybe, I don't know, he wants to say anything about those 15, I mean,
What's your question?
No, no,
I
I just couldn't remember what.
yeah, it was
I mean-
15 students, they're saying did not pass the Ohio test.
And they were not
They were not
identified
given a
earlier
reading.
as at risk?
Right, right.
So the deduction comes for students who were not on what's called a RIMP, were not looked at as being not on track, but then they did not pass the test. And they had to actually pass the test at the proficient level to 700, where they got promoted to fourth grade if they got a 670, or they passed just the reading portion. So they actually had to pass the test. So we had all our kids pass the reading part and make it to fourth grade, but they didn't all actually pass the whole test. So that was the deduction.
Is the Project More helping with that possibly?
So that's
No.
middle school.
Middle school.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just think it might be something
I mean, is
that
that
to
something-
There
consider
are,
for the
I
lower
mean,
grade.
we have other programs at the elementary that addresses kids that are identified as needing help with Title I. We have a lot of services, Title I there, and also special education for those kids with disabilities. And like I said, it's showing when we have had a B in the gap closing, which is really good. It's showing they are growing, but they're just not growing enough to reach that proficient level.
I was just thinking maybe it'd be nice to get Project More started in there too, something, maybe it could reach up on it, or at least at the, thanks.
Yes,
I have something to say about the ACT and SAT scores.
yes.
They're not really focused on in high school, like they say we should take it, and we're forced to take it, I think, in 11th grade. But there's nothing really like driven towards like passing and getting like a good score, like those like tests that you're like have to take, like those like C tests and they're called. And I feel like no one really like cares or like no one has the motivation to do it, because it's not, like I believe there is a class to like take it, like a readiness class or
Right.
whatever, like in high school. Yeah, but there's no one that like forces it and like gives the motivation for like us high schoolers to take it. I know a lot of people that like don't even know what it's about, what score you have to take to get like into college. And I feel like it's just not driven home that like this is what you
It's
have
important.
to do, yeah, in order to like go to like college.
I was just gonna say, and you carried on, I was gonna ask, do we have any staff members who explain to the students what it is, why we're taking it, the importance of it?
Yeah.
That's-
Rather
Everybody
than
rotate
just
it.
everybody takes it, well,
Yeah, you go on a
okay,
Saturday
you
morning
know,
and-
yeah, the importance of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it have like an 8th grade class, it was like CCP and then college readiness, I don't remember the name. But like in 8th grade, she cared, and we, like, so like I feel like no one really like knows the importance of it, so like that's why like the score is like an F for the district.
And maybe not to stress kids out again, because we don't want to do that with testing. But I think if we can, little by little, keep repeating repetition, rather than 11th grade, you're all taking it,
Yeah.
Well, that's the role of the counselor, is to explain to their students that they are working with the importance, and I'm not saying maybe you're not doing a
how
good
often do
job.
counselors meet with the students?
Well, how often, I can't tell you.
So it's not a regular thing where a counselor sees kids, so every year these kids, whether you're top, middle, bottom, are meeting with the counselor to go over.
Is
kind
it
of
every
There's
student?
enough for that.
Is it every student that we're future planning with, or just the ones that seek out
Every student.
guidance for their
Every
future?
student.
Okay.
That was a good point though that you brought up, and so go back and talk with the principal and talk with our team and find out how should we address that and how can we improve that area where we're communicating that need to the students that are all taking it, that, look, we're not trying to put too much pressure on you, but this is important. So, Jason?
Yeah, first of all, that was really brave of you to speak up, so thank you. No, you should, that's great. Secondly, this is another piece where that VR component could really come into play. If we had a virtual, say, planetarium, as you brought up before, that's, to say there's 10 stations in this planetarium where students can use that. It's not going to be used exclusively for that purpose the whole time, and there are simulations where you can put on a headset and essentially be in a testing room. A lot of students don't succeed at the ACT or SAT because of the nerves of being in that setting. This is a way that you can actually put them in that setting. It's a long-term thing, but it might be something that can help out as well. I don't know if that's something that you guys feel would be beneficial or not, but that's a small sample size, but just other ways we can connect dots here.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, one more item on my report, and that's just approving of fundraisers through October 1st, 2018. Can I just say as listed, or would you like me to read through them?
You don't need to read
As
that.
listed. And that's all I have for my report then.
All right, item B, treasurer's report.
Recommend a resolution to approve the 8th grade trip to Washington DC, May 6th to the 8th, 2019, at a cost of $470 per student.
On that? That's second.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Stark?
Yes.
Mr. Havermill?
Yes.
Ms. Ennis?
Yes.
Motion approved 4-0. Recommend a resolution to approve the October 5-year forecast, attachment B.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, again, so the purpose of the 5-year forecast is to engage the Board of Education and the community in long-range planning and discussions of financial issues facing the school district. It also serves as a basis for determining the school district's ability to sign contracts. And lastly, is to provide a method for the Department of Education and the Auditor of State's Office to identify school districts with potential problems, financial problems. So that's the fiscal caution watch and emergency. The Ohio Department of Education and the Auditor of State's Office, and they work together to identify school districts based on their 3-year, 4-year, 5-year plan, their 5-year forecast. If you start running a deficit, they'll place you in fiscal caution or fiscal watch, and then once you reach a certain percentage of your deficit to your revenue, they have potential to place you in fiscal emergency, which then the state takes over. So again, everybody's watching these 5-year forecasts. When you're looking at a forecast, it's a little daunting at first. There's a lot of numbers on there, but ultimately lines 1.010, 1.020, and 1.050, those are all of our property taxes. Our local property tax is accounted for 51.1% of the district's revenue, which is actually up from last year. Property values this time around are just shy of where they were in 2008, before the market crashed. So since the market crashed, we've rallied and we've started to grow back out, and now we're just about where we were in 2008. Another interesting thing, and this confused me a little bit from the last presentation I gave you. Our property tax collection rates were 7% higher than average, and in delinquency accounts were 4.1% more. So what that means is that back in May, when we were looking at a forecast, we were thinking that people paid their property taxes early and paid the annual property tax in January. And so we were anticipating in July to see less revenue. Because people, paid 7% more as far as the collection rate, and because 4.1% more of the delinquent accounts came through, we actually ended up about where we normally are for property tax revenue this time around. So in the long run, property tax revenue has increased by just shy of 1% in the last 5 years, and it's slightly decreased in the last 10 years by 1.5%. There's a look at our property valuation. So again, in 2008, we were just over 455 million. You can see where the valley is there in 2012, 13, and 14, just shy of 420 million. And we've steadily been climbing since then, just shy of, I think we're at 451 million right now. So what does that mean as dollars go? Here's our historical property tax collection in dollars. In 2008, we collected 17.7 million. Back in the valley of 2011, 12, and 13, 8.4, 17.3, 16. Again, property taxes are a year behind. And now we're starting to climb back out of that. Again, you have to remember too, House Bill 920, it limits the amount of revenue we can collect on property taxes. Even though our home values increase, we don't collect any more revenue typically. When they decrease, though, we do have the ability, we are vulnerable to collect less money. And I think what we're seeing here is more of a delinquency and late payments, and that's what we're starting to see catch back up now. So the other side of our revenue is state funding. 1.035 and 1.045 are restricted and unrestricted grants from the state. Restricted grants are catastrophic cost reimbursements, economic disadvantage funding, and career tech funding. And on the unrestricted, meaning we can spend this money in the general fund however we deem fit, these funds are received through the State Foundation Program with no restriction. The district receives 18.6% of its revenue from this source, and it's currently on the guarantee foundation funding formula, which I'll show you in the next slide. Our state share index is used to determine a district's capacity to raise local revenue when distributing state funds. Basis for this calculation is the district's 3-year average in property value, median income index, and wealth index. And in fiscal year 19, 26.9% is what our state share index is, which equates to $1,624 per student. In fiscal year 17, we collected $1,720 per student. So as our state share index decreases, so does our revenue per student. And our state share index will decrease because the property value becomes more valuable, which then in turn lowers increases our revenue per pupil. So this is essentially what the guarantee is. Our formula ADM, which is different than our head count. So if we counted everybody in here, we'd come up with 15 people. ADM is more like what are we funded on. It's typically a little bit lower. So right now our formula ADM is 1706.77 with a state share index of 27%. Multiply that times your $6,020 for the opportunity grant, gives you your state core funding per pupil of $1,624. And there's basically 3 different formulas the state uses to calculate everybody. You're either on the guarantee, which is what we are, which means if you were to calculate our formula, we would receive less revenue, so the state gives us a guarantee. Some districts are on the straight formula where there is no guarantee, and some districts are on the cap where they actually qualify for a lot more, but they don't receive it. So right now, we receive around $650,000 from the state for money that isn't calculated in our formula that we receive. And for us to get off of the guarantee, we'd have to lose 307 students off of that formula ADM, which I don't see happening. But I do see moving forward, our wealth getting a little bit better, our valuation per pupil increasing a little bit. Again, that's because of declining enrollment, which then will reduce our state share index, which then reduces the amount of revenue we get per pupil. which then in turn increases our guarantee. Is that- This is as difficult as trying to explain.
simple.
Yeah, don't you guys get this? Yeah, this is like Jim over here with the state report card. I know. But that's 30,000 foot view of this stuff. The other part of it is all other operating revenue. Other revenues account for 7.8% of the district's revenue. That's the stuff like tuition, transportation, interest, sale of assets, payment in lieu, Medicaid reimbursements. It's also tuition from other school districts whose students attend our schools, as well as from open enrollment. So again, the major driving force in the revenue for all other operating revenue is open enrollment from other districts. And here's our historical. As you can see, we've been accepting each year a little bit more and more open enrolled students, and that's showing up on the revenue here. I'm sorry, this is our historical forecasted revenue. This is all of those lines combined, starting in 2013. So we had 22.4 million, increased in 2015 to 23.2 million. 2018 was our highest so far at 24.3 million. And then the red lines there are the forecasted numbers that stay pretty flat, right around that 23.9. And again, the reason you're seeing that increase year after year after year was us taking in more open enrollment students. Essentially, we were bringing in more revenue and keeping expenditures fairly flat.
So as we talked about before, that we reached that tipping point where we want to cap it, is that why that it stays?
Yeah, we're pretty much, as far as based on our formula ADM, we're about as high as we want to get. We might have a couple rooms here and there, but we're pretty much plateaued there. So now we look at the expenditure side. Salaries. Salaries are the largest at 49% of the total expenditures. This includes all salaries, though. This is salaries, this includes overtime, severance pay, supplemental contracts. And again, personnel services have remained fairly flat despite negotiated agreement increases. Here's our historical salary costs. 2012, I think we had, and I think also in 2015, there might have been severance payouts, or at least early severance retirement. And you can see that those have paid off to drop that salary down. But as time continues on, people gain one step in education, people gain one step on the salary schedule. Experience happens, and those are going to continue to increase. Line 3020 is employee benefits. This is the next largest line item. This accounts for 19.5% of the budget. And right now I have it forecasted to increase 4.6% over the next 5 years. 4.6% each year. Also, I'd like to point out again that there's a 0% increase from fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 19 in our health insurance premiums. And then we've also received discounts on workers' compensation because A, we're a drug-free campus. We received a discount for going green. And there's other discounts for going 5 years or more without a late payment. And that's pretty much reflective here. I mean, our benefits, despite the increasing cost of health insurance, we've been able to keep it fairly flat. And the minor increases that you're seeing in 2019, 2020, 2021 are again just the 4.5% increase there. I should also mention that this is fringe benefits. This isn't only health insurance. This is SDRS, SDRS pickup. This is life insurance. This is workers' comp. This is everything. Our next major line item, purchase services. Again, this accounts for 17.4% of the expenditures. This is your utilities, services for operations, tuition expenses, scholarships, open enrollment out. A little blurb down here below, the district paid $636,000 in fiscal year 18 to open enrollment out. They also paid $214,000 to community school transfers, $175,000 in scholarship transfers, and $176,000 to the ESC. So again, in total, we have $1.2 million leaving the district through students. And again, just the historical look at purchase services again. The ebb and flow, they rise and go. They drop down a little bit each year. But again, when we take a look at the average and the trend that they're going through, at 4.2 million, 4.3 million is about where we expect them to go for the next 5 years. One of the most important lines in forecast, line 6010, which are revenue over your expenditures. This will get a good sense of the district's financial health. Positive number indicates the district put money in the bank, and a negative number means that they took money out of the bank. Blue line is our revenue, the red line is our expenditures. As you can see in 16, 17, and even what we're projecting here in 19, we're pretty much right in line with our expenditures. After 19, though, again, our revenue for the most part is going to be flat. So in the last 5 years of our forecast, we're going to have increasing costs. In order for us to bring that red line below, we would have to make expenditure reductions there. Because I don't believe we're going to be able to increase our revenue substantially through any more open enrollment or anything else like that. Here's a quick forecast for the snapshot of the forecast. In fiscal year 19, we're looking at $23.9 million and looking to expend $24 million. Right now, our results of operations look like to be a negative $128,000. We're starting the year with $14.6 million, and the ending fund balance is that's the line item that we use to certify contracts, would be at $14 million. Throughout the forecasted period, 2023, we're looking at $9.8 million. And then just final comments again, the district's in good financial health. The district, though, is going to need to watch its spending carefully so it can mirror its revenues. And as costs continue to rise, the district will need to find additional ways to reduce expenditures, increase revenue, or a combination of both. Thank you. Any questions?
All right. No more questions or comments? Call the roll.
Mr. Stark?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Ms. Ennis?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Motion approved 4-0. Recommend a resolution to accept a $300 donation from Tiffany's Flowers to Vermillion High School for Flowers for Homecoming Court.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Sean?
Pretty good with that? Generous donation?
Yeah.
All right, call the roll, please.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Stark?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Ms. Ennis?
Yes.
Motion approved 4-0.
Item C, items for discussion. Capital Conference is the 11th through the 13th.
I have all of your badges and stuff for you to get into the conference.
I'll talk to you about it offline. I'm not going to be able to go, so if there's anybody that wants to go in my place, we should send somebody.
Okay.
So I've had something come up and I won't be able to make it.
Jason, I talked about Jason coming down.
That'd be good. There's a lot of good ideas down there. There's the education fair is a good, yeah, that would be actually really good for you to go.
Sounds good.
Okay, item 2, student monitor certification.
This is just, moving forward, everybody needs to have student activity permits. You know, if you're going to be in front of a student, you have to go through the proper vetting process to make sure that you are qualified to be in front of students. Student monitors, though, right now are not required. I think they're going to be moving in that direction, but I think it'd be in our best interest to do that, to make sure that everybody that's going to be in our school district have the proper vetting process that everybody else goes through. for us to pick up that tab is $25. We have 10 of them, so it'll be $250 for the cost, just to make sure that people that are applying and to be student monitors then have the correct qualifications to in fact work in a school.
Makes sense. Okay. Item 8, pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, it is hereby moved that the board adjourn to executive session. I'll move.
Ms. Innes,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Stark,
Yeah.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Motion approved 4-0. 8-12.
This should be brief.
Bye, Bonnie. Hey, Bonnie.
Almost made it.
I can stop by and see you, but
Okay.
you know that email I said I want to get a picture.
Yes.
No, but feel free to give any feedback.
Yeah, okay.
Or question
Okay, yeah, but yeah, well, that's easy. It's
Okay.
what you're asking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Start playing music.
Okay. Item D, the consent agenda. The superintendent and the treasurer recommend that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items. Action, I'm sorry.
Do we need to call when we're back into?
Yeah, good point. 8:23, out of executive session. Now item D, the consent agenda. The superintendent and treasurer recommend that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items. Action by the Board of Education in adoption of the consent agenda means that all items are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board, the treasurer, or the superintendent requests that any such item be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately. Item 1, recommend a resolution to rescind administrative contract issued in error and authorizing a corrected contract. Whereas the board erroneously issued an administrative contract for psychologist Brooke Spafford, inadvertently containing items and benefits that were not available for the 204-day administrative employee. And whereas the additional benefits were never agreed by the board, nor were they sought by said employee, and whereas the terms and conditions of the administrative employees are set forth in the administrative guidelines adopted by the board. Resolved, A, the erroneous contract issued to psychologist Brooke Spafford is hereby rescinded as invalid upon issuance due to a clerical error. B, the board authorizes and directs the treasurer to issue a corrected administrative contract to psychologist Brooke Spafford in line with the administrative guidelines for 204-day contracts. And C, the board further declares that failure to execute the corrected contract and properly return the same to the treasurer on or before October 20th, 2018 will be deemed as a resignation of employment by Ms. Spafford. Item 2, minutes of the September 10, 2018 board meeting. Item 3, adopt revisions to the following district policies and accompanying guidelines as recommended by NEOLA for the second read. Policies as listed. Item 4, adopt a resolution to approve open enrollment agreement for excess cost for children with disabilities with Huron City Schools for 5 students, Fremont City Schools for 3, and Amherst for 2 students. Item 5, approve purchase of 2 school buses through the Ohio School Council Cooperative Purchasing Program. These will be Bluebird buses, a 72 and a 78 passenger bus. Total cost of the 2 buses, $178,314. Item 6, approve the following employment actions as listed. And that's it. Get a motion? I'll second. Any items that anyone
Yeah, I need
would like to have removed?
whole,
Somebody start?
I guess is it the whole number 6 or can we just?
No, you can pull the one.
Just that one?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Justin, we're going to pull Emily Stark from about the middle there. All right. Anything else? All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Stark,
Yes.
Mr. Habermill,
Yes.
Ms. Innes,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Motion approved 4-0.
Item 9, items removed from the consent agenda. We have one item, a one-year limited contract for the position of student worker in the Work Experience and Career Exploration Program for 2018-19 contract year to Emily Stark, VES Teacher Aide.
I'll move.
I'll second. Any questions?
I'm going to abstain, that's my daughter.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Stark?
Abstain.
Mr. Havermill?
Yes.
Ms. Ennis?
Yes.
Motion approved, 3, 1 abstention.
Item 10, public participation. Crowd is dwindling. Okay.
So that's how we got that, put that.
Item 11, date and location of upcoming board meetings. We have a regular meeting on Monday, November 5th. We have a regular meeting on Monday, December 10, and a regular meeting on Monday, January 14. And then that January 14 meeting, there'll also be an organizational meeting at 6:45. I know, quick here. Item 12, pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, it is hereby moved that the board adjourn to executive session.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Stark?
Yeah.
Mr. Havermill?
Yes,
Ms. Ennis?
Yes.
Motion approved 4-0.
8:28.